Alex Pereira has become one of the most feared strikers combat sports has ever produced. Every opponent knows exactly what is coming, yet somehow it still arrives. One left hook, one clean counter, lights go out. That's the reputation Pereira has built across kickboxing and MMA. But this matchup is different, because the man standing across from him may be the worst stylistic opponent imaginable at heavyweight. Not because he hits harder, not because he's tougher, but because Ciryl Gane refuses to fight the fight Pereira wants, and that single fact could change everything. Whenever this fight gets discussed, the conversation always starts with Pereira's power, and that's understandable. The second thing people tend to bring up is his ability to throw leg kicks with virtually no wind-up, along with the power and effectiveness behind them. They also point to the damage those kicks inflict, and how they slow opponents down, setting them up for his deadly left hook. Power is the easiest thing to notice, but power isn't the real question here. The real question is whether Pereira can consistently find clean shots against one of the best movers in the division. Unlike most of the opponents Alex is used to fighting, Gane doesn't stand in front of his opponents waiting to trade. He circles, he resets, he forces opponents to follow him into uncomfortable positions. That changes the entire equation. Ciryl Gane isn't built like a traditional heavyweight. He moves with the rhythm and balance of a much lighter fighter. Fast feet, sharp exits, constant angle changes. Most heavyweights are willing to stand their ground and trade when pressure starts building. Gane rarely does. That's what makes him such a difficult puzzle. Alex establishes patterns and set traps. Gane operates differently. He isn't trying to win exchanges, he's trying to win positions. Instead of chasing knockouts, he often chases control. He wants favorable angles, favorable distance, favorable tempo. Pereira wins fights by creating moments. Gane wins fights by reducing them. And when a fighter built around explosive moments faces a fighter built around limiting opportunities, the matchup becomes much more complicated than it appears on paper. To understand this fight, you first have to understand how Alex Pereira creates knockouts. The punch itself is usually what people remember. The left hook, the counter, the finish. But the knockout is often the final step of a process that started minutes earlier. Pereira's pressure isn't reckless. It's calculated. Every step forward serves a purpose. He gradually cuts off exits. He narrows available space. He forces opponents toward the fence, where movement becomes more predictable and reactions become easier to read. Once opponents start running out of room, their choices become limited. They retreat in straight lines. They circle where he expects them to circle. They throw when he expects them to throw. That's when Pereira becomes truly dangerous. The challenge is that Ciryl Gane is one of the few heavyweights who actively fights against that process. He's constantly adjusting his position, constantly reclaiming space, constantly forcing opponents to restart their pressure. Instead of backing straight toward danger, he exits on angles and resets in open space. That may sound like a small detail, but over 5 rounds it becomes enormous. Because every time Pereira is forced to restart the pressure, he has to rebuild the trap from the beginning. And if Gane can consistently deny those positions, the fight starts becoming less about power and more about process. If Ciryl Gane is going to win this fight, the path isn't complicated. Difficult? Absolutely. But complicated? Not really. The blueprint is actually very clear. Step 1. Win the position battle. The first objective isn't damage, it's positioning. Most fighters make the mistake of giving Pereira ground. They retreat straight backward under pressure and slowly allow themselves to get pushed toward the fence. Once that happens, the fight starts being fought on Pereira's terms. Gane has to avoid that at all costs. Instead of moving backward, he needs to move laterally. Instead of accepting pressure, he needs to redirect it. Every angle change forces Pereira to adjust his feet. Every reset prevents him from building momentum. The goal isn't simply escaping danger. The goal is preventing Pereira from ever establishing it. Step 2. Touch first, leave first. The second layer of the blueprint revolves around speed. Pereira possesses extraordinary timing, but timing becomes much harder when you're consistently arriving second. Gane's hand speed and foot speed are unusual for a heavyweight. If he can establish a rhythm where he's landing the first strike and exiting before counters arrive, he creates a difficult problem for Pereira. Now Pereira has a choice. Commit harder and risk getting beaten to the target. Or become more cautious and allow Gane to accumulate points. Neither option is ideal. This doesn't mean Gane needs massive combinations. In fact, that could be dangerous. Fast jabs, quick body kicks, single shots, sharp exits. Land first, leave first, repeat. Pereira is at his most dangerous when the fight is simple. Pressure, counter, hook, finish. Gane's job is to remove that simplicity and make every exchange uncertain. Threaten the jab, body kick, clinch, and level changes, not to wrestle long, but to force constant respect. The more Pereira has to process, the slower his reactions become, and the less freely he can pressure. The biggest mistake is becoming too cautious. If Gane has already controlled position, landed first, and forced hesitation, he has to build on it, not just survive on it. Pereira is most vulnerable when forced to defend more, react more, and deal with sustained volume. His output drops, his rhythm breaks, and the fight shifts from power to pace. That's where Gane's activity matters. Jabs, body kicks, quick combinations, and clinch entries. Consistent pressure forces resets and denies him time to settle. At heavyweight, this is even more important. Pereira's power is always live, but harder to sustain over 5 rounds against a larger, mobile opponent. Late in the fight, survival isn't enough. Gane has to make him work, force exchanges, and build volume. As Pereira falls behind and loses rhythm, urgency replaces patience, and openings appear. The danger never disappears, but if Gane maintains movement and output, the blueprint holds, not by avoiding the fight, but by forcing Pereira to fight at a pace he doesn't want. None of this means Gane has room for mistakes. In fact, the margin for error remains extremely small. Pereira doesn't need sustained success. He needs one opening, one bad exit, one lazy jab, one moment with his opponent's back near the fence. That's what makes him so dangerous. Even when he's behind on the scorecards, the threat never disappears. The knockout is always one exchange away. Can Alex Pereira knock out Ciryl Gane? Absolutely. Anyone pretending otherwise is ignoring reality. But if this fight reaches the championship rounds and Gane is still moving freely, the momentum begins to shift. Because the central question was never who hits harder. It's who controls the fight. Space, range, tempo, discipline. Those are the areas where Gane can build advantages. Over 5 rounds, those advantages add up. And that's why I believe Ciryl Gane has the tools to frustrate Alex Pereira and earn a decision victory in a fight many people expect him to lose.
Yeah.